The case of River Church fundamentally reshaped the law of manslaughter by establishing an objective test for when an unlawful and dangerous act becomes a criminal homicide. It also clarified the principle that a series of events can be viewed as a single transaction, allowing the actus reus and mens rea to coincide even if the final, fatal act was not accompanied by the initial intent. Hello and welcome to Landmark Case Laws Simplified. Buckle up as we explore the fascinating world of our church together. Here is a breakdown of the case. Cyril Church and the woman, Sylvia Nott, were in his van for sexual purposes. After an argument, Church knocked her unconscious. He tried to revive her for about half an hour and, believing she was dead, panicked and threw her body into the River Ouse. Medical evidence later showed she was still alive when she entered the water and died from drowning. Church was acquitted of murder but convicted of manslaughter. He appealed, arguing the trial judge had misdirected the jury by telling them his belief that the woman was dead was irrelevant to the manslaughter charge. The Court of Criminal Appeal upheld his conviction but clarified the correct legal basis for. River Church established two critical principles in English criminal law. The objective test for unlawful act manslaughter. The court held that for a conviction of manslaughter based on an unlawful act, the unlawful act must be such that all sober and reasonable people would inevitably recognize it must subject the other person to, at least, the risk of some harm resulting therefrom, albeit not serious harm. This introduced an objective test. It does not matter what the defendant themselves thought. The question is what the hypothetical, reasonable person would have foreseen. This principle is the cornerstone of what is now known as unlawful and dangerous act manslaughter. The series of acts, or transaction, principle. The court applied the principle from Thabo Meli v.R. 1954, stating that if a defendant's actions are part of a connected series of events, they can be viewed as a single transaction. This means the necessary criminal intent, mens rea, does not have to coincide exactly with the act that physically causes death. In Church, his initial assault, with the required mens rea, and the subsequent act of throwing the body in the river, which caused death, were part of one continuing chain of events. This principle prevents defendants from escaping liability simply because the final, fatal act was committed without the initial malicious intent. The test from River Church remains the definitive authority for establishing unlawful and dangerous act manslaughter. Refining the test. The key element is that the act must be criminal. A tort is not enough, and dangerous in the sense that a reasonable person would recognize the risk of some harm, not necessarily serious harm. The case is also frequently cited in legal education for the transaction principle, which resolves the coincidence of actus reus and mens rea in complex factual scenarios. I hope this explanation is helpful. Until next time, stay inspired and keep chasing your dreams.